Good evening, everyone. I am so privileged to be talking tonight to Anton Days. He is sitting right now in Australia. There's a 14-hour time difference between us, but through the beauty of Skype, we're having a wonderful conversation. The reason I wanted to talk to Anton, I found him on Twitter, is because he used to live in Germany. Recently, he was there from 2012 to 2015, but he left. And this is what I want to talk to you about, Anton. Here's the question on my mind is you see a prime minister like Angela Merkel, and you see her letting in people who are changing her country. I mean, the very fabric of the country, and to the detriment of her own fellow citizens. You see that we had the big rape in Cologne, and you said it was in other cities too, like Frankfurt. You had a coordinated sexual assault on New Year's Eve 2015, and yet she's still bringing in the people, the kinds of culture that's allowing these kinds of things to happen to Germans, German kids, teenagers, kids on their way to school. First of all, why do you think Angela Merkel is doing this? And secondly of all, at what point do the German people push back, and how?
You said it right when you said bringing in. She's not letting them in, she's bringing them in, because you could say no if you wanted to. It's not an accident that it's happening by any means. Right. First of all, there's no doubt in my mind, and I think if one to look for the evidence, there's plenty of evidence to back up that she's working hand in glove with Soros types to. And here's the problem, and you'll see it in Europe generally. Europe was a safe place 5 years ago in general. Maybe 10 years if you look at it as a whole, like the whole, and obviously that's changed massively in France. But if you want to create a police state, you can't do that if there's no threat. That's part of it. That's just an opinion, but that's an observation. If you bring in a threat, you can justify creating and having a police state. In Europe, they have an intention of an end goal, which is a European army. That's pretty clear. They announced that relatively recently. They have to have a threat to justify the population demanding those solutions. It's always solution, problem, reaction, solution. They want to cause a problem, then they can provide a solution to their own ends. Angela Merkel is doing it because she is, in my opinion, a hardcore communist from East Germany, and she has an agenda. She's obviously probably totally controlled, but she has an agenda. She's absolutely either sold out to Saudi Arabia or she's working with them. Either way, I mean, I don't know if you're aware of this, but Saudi Arabia pledged 200 billion, I want to say, for 30 new mosques, but not just normal Muslim mosques, Wahhabist mosques. 30 of them in Germany. I mean, can you imagine the downstream results of that in that country? But back to what you said before, which was you asked I don't know when the German people get out of that, because they don't have the mentality of, gun ownership. There, you say that, people laugh at you. Freedom of speech, no one says anything because they don't want to be criticized. So the self-preservation aspect that is very part of the American psyche, it just doesn't exist in the same way. And my fear is that by the time that they realize that they have no choice but to fight, and that's just following a trend, I don't know if there's any other way you can say that, because it's pretty clear that the Wahhabists, the Islamic aspect of it, their intention is domination. And they're saying it, so it's not like I'm just saying it it's not some conspiracy. It's like they're saying that is their intention, the Islamization of Europe. And there's only one way demographically that ends. So they're having, 5-6 kids per 2 adults. Germany's having, less than 1 kid. Less than 2 kids. They're having less than replacement rates of births. Right. So Angela could be doing it in her mind. Maybe she's justifying it, saying I'm importing workers, but these people don't work. Less than 3% are even getting jobs. So right. When does Germany wake up? I don't know. I don't know that it will.
And I understand that social media is playing a role in this too. The word got out that there was free money in Germany. And when some of these refugees were asked, why don't you get a job? They said, we're Merkel's guests.
Yeah.
We're not supposed to work.
Well, that's what they've probably been told. And don't forget, the people that are there now are the men. What happens if they bring their whole families? That's another 10 million people. And if only 3% are working now, can you imagine what that does to the middle class, that tax burden that gets created?
Man, so another problem is the media. What the media in Germany is letting the German people know is happening in their country. How did you find out about it?
Well, first of all, the German media is not, that's an illusion. I mean, the media there is
Right.
state controlled. First of all, the main media is all tax funded, much like the BBC is. You have to pay for it. You don't have a choice. So that the media pushes what it's told to push by the government. It's a government media at the end of the day. Most other media just follows pretty closely behind that. You don't have a right-wing media there for, any measurable right-wing media there. The way that I became aware of it, or managed to educate myself, is one is you can see when someone's telling you a blatant lie, so you want to go find the truth. A lot of it was just observing it and kind of having a conclusion, but in the U.S. I do consume a lot of media from the U.S. There's not a lot of places you can look to get informed, unfortunately, so you really have to kind of look there if you want to get the bigger picture.
You were able to find some voices on Twitter. You were able to find some voices on the internet that allowed you to see what was happening and to validate what you were seeing in your own country from outside. Is that an accurate description?
Absolutely, and 100%. And the other thing just as part of that, to create a holistic picture, is with the Germans, because the education system they have is very much towards creating an employee. It's all about being an employee, to be essentially a ward of the state. It's So the mentality is just so different, so different.
So they're pushing compliance.
Yeah, you got to the core of it. That's exactly right. It's you are trained to do what you're told, exactly, from a very early age, because you go to the state school. The schools are state run. There's very few private schools, if any. That I was aware of, for sure. I definitely looked at it because I was, I didn't want my kids going to a school where they're being told that they don't know what their gender is at 2 years old, Or, there's this thing in Switzerland called the sex box, where they give a box to a kid and they say, decide what your gender is when they're like 2 or 3 years old. So I'm just saying that's a cultural thing that's definitely permeating into it. And I'm like, so the only solution, of course, if you want to get your kid the education they want, is to homeschool if there's no other option. And that's illegal there.
Boy, what a conundrum to be in. If you love your country, but yet you don't feel like you can raise your family there, that's painful.
Well,
that's hurtful.
I still have family there, and the truth is when I talk to them, they really don't. They still don't see it. They really just don't, and that's why I say I don't know what's going to happen there.
Well, I tell you what, Germany is on my heart and on my mind. I've been there. I've met some of the people. It's beautiful, beautiful place, beautiful people, and my heart is breaking. My heart breaks. It breaks for what I see happening, and my prayers are that Germany can survive this, and that the German people begin to see what's happening before it's too late. Back to the flag, the little video clip I saw of Angela Merkel, taking down the German flag was contrasted with a little video of Donald Trump hugging the American flag. Yeah. So from Australia, tell me, why were you on Twitter in support of Trump?
I saw very early on that he wasn't playing around. He was playing to win, and he was serious about it. And I could see that he wasn't doing this as a joke. Like, that was just my observation from a multitude of facets of aspects. I looked at it from the filter that I had already developed from the previous years of everywhere else I'd been before. And I thought, this guy's not just real, he's as real as they get. He's the last chance we have. That's my reality of it. That's, the trend that's going. If you wanted someone else to come along, by the time it's gotten so bad, it'll have been so far gone, probably, that you'll just be trying to fix what was done. And with Trump, I saw there's a real opportunity for what's going on now to be halted, at the very least in the U.S., which, in my opinion, honestly sets the agenda for the Western world. True. So I thought, you know what, this guy he's the right guy, he's the perfect guy, and I need to do everything I could from where I was to get him in. I'm not trying to say that as if I had some immense amount of power. It's just, as an individual sitting there going, what can I do? The most I could do, unfortunately, was being involved and active on Twitter, on the Reddit, the Donald Reddit, and just be part of that sort of amorphous group, and just do what they were doing as a group, as a unit, to support him in any way that I could. Just as an anecdotal thing, in Australia, every working person that I have spoken to, specifically men, because that's what I generally spend my days around, are hardcore, quiet, but hardcore Trump supporters, and they get it to an immense degree. Also, the other massive encouraging thing that I saw in the U.S. was an immense amount of women supporting him, which just made my heart fly. I thought that was going to be his downfall, but thankfully that the women in America are so strong, unlike a lot of other cultures, unfortunately. But in Australia as well, I've observed that there's a quiet undertone but the support for Trump here, outside the liberal noise circles it's immense. It's immense and very, very passionate.
I'm so happy to hear that. That warms my heart. I have great hope for America's future, and I hope also that when America becomes stronger, that Germany can become stronger too, and that this nationalism that we see, beginning with Brexit, hopefully to be replicated in France and some of these other neighboring countries of Germany, that there might be a real movement taking place. So we will watch carefully. I so appreciate your opinion from where you are, from someone who has recently lived in Germany, who's in Australia now, and has spent quite a bit of time in the United States. Who knows where you will be in the future, but if America starts on its upward trend, which I expect it will, maybe you'll even come to our shores once again. So
my plan was to come back next year.
Well, we would love to have you. Tell our listeners, Anton, how they can follow you on Twitter.
I'm just at Anton Days on Twitter.
Okay, and Days is spelled Deyes.
Yeah, that's correct. Anton, first name. Yeah.
Anton Days. Good. Well, it has been a pleasure and a privilege to speak with you. Might come back later and check in and see how things are going over there in Australia. So I appreciate your time today, and hopefully we'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you so much, Carrie. Likewise.